All right. So, this is a podcast that will explain everything you need to know about percent composition. Now, this is really, really easy math. We've already gone over it with the introductory activity we did on Monday. So, this shouldn't take long at all. Basically, a percent composition question will ask you something like what you see on the screen. What is the percentage by mass of all elements in potassium dichromate? And in this case, I give you the formula. In some cases, you may need to get the formula. Those will tend to be simpler than this one, but I figured I'd throw you a little brain teaser to get you started. So, on the right side of the screen, you see some helpful hints. And those helpful hints will allow you to get any percentage composition problem correct. First, you always have to find the molar mass. So, what I would recommend here is that you don't do these like you would normally do a like you would normally calculate a molar mass, rather, and just type the numbers into your calculator and go from there. Not only does that open you up to mistakes, but in this case, you'll want to take the extra step of getting the masses of the elements in order to make sure that you have them to work with, because we're going to need them later. So, I'm going to go ahead and calculate the molar mass, and I'm going to write it right up on the screen. So, with potassium, if I look up the mass, it's a mass of 39.10. And remember, we're rounding all our masses to the nearest hundredth. We multiply that by 2, and we get 78.20. With chromium, which isn't something we see very often, but it's easy enough to look up, we have a mass of 52, and we also have 2 of those according to the subscript in the equation, and that gives us a total of 104. I can do most of this math in my head. You don't have to. That's why we have calculators. So make sure to keep bringing your calculators and keep using them for this stuff. There's no reason you have to write out a bunch of complicated multiplication and long division problems on your paper, because frankly that makes your life more difficult. So let's keep it as easy as we can. So if I add these all up, and remember we add, we never multiply, we get a molar mass of 294.20 grams per mole. So that will be the denominator in every fraction we use to figure out the percent composition of all of these different elements. So that brings us to step number 2. Now, to find the percentage of each element, all we have to do is take the mass of that element. And we're not talking just the molar mass that you look up on the periodic table, but the mass of the element that you actually find in the compound. Now, it just so happens that we've already figured out what these masses are. Now, I think you can see why it's important to write out the masses and actually show your work when you're calculating the molar mass, because now it makes your life a whole lot easier. You're more prone to mistakes when you don't write those out and you don't see those numbers right in front of you. So, I'm going to go ahead and calculate potassium first down here in blue. The mass of potassium is 78.20. The molar mass of the compound is 294.20. And since it's a percentage, we're going to multiply by 100. And we get an answer of 26.58%. As a rule, I'm going to have you round those percentages to the nearest hundredth to 2 decimal places. So that's always a good move here. So now we have chromium. Do chromium down here in green. And chromium has a mass of 104, which we saw up above. We divide that again by the molar mass, which is 294.20. That hasn't changed. And we get an answer of 35.35%. And finally, we have oxygen. We have a mass of 112 for oxygen. And we divide again by the molar mass, 294.20. We multiply by 100 because it's a percentage. And the percentage of oxygen in this compound is 38.07%. So, the third step is perhaps the most important, because if we're calculating the percentage by mass of all the elements in this compound, the percentages should definitely add up to 100. So let's double check. I'm just going to add these all up, 26.58, 35.35, and I'm setting it up so you get the visual, but This part you could probably do in your calculator and you'd be fine with that. You don't have to show me this, but it's always helpful to check your work because you don't want something adding up to 150% or something like that. Now, it just so happens that when we add these up, they do in fact add up to 100%. So this may be one of the easiest things we've done so far, and really it's just a matter of keeping track of the numbers. So that is percent composition, and I hope you enjoy.